Good evening, I'm Dan Rather, and tonight on CBS News.
In a shocking development, the federal government says being broke is allowed, but if you're broke and glowing, you are officially now a suspect.
You can't be glowing more than your financial status. Look your problem.
Producers have confirmed next season of Love Island will merge with the Hunger Games. Only one couple will survive the new format. Everyone else dies.
Senator Buck Nutley has unveiled his Big Girthy Bill, a new proposal meant to rival the Big Beautiful Bill. But does size really matter?
The shocking trend of Labubu violation continues as more and more people are finding their dolls' holes stretched wide open and reeking of shame.
If you thought Bigfoot was bad, wait till you meet his gooey cousin. A kumsquatch was just spotted in Dongwood National Forest.
Did you know IKEA has released a home glory hole kit called the Fuke Hole? It includes pre-drilled panels, mounting brackets, and a stain-proof finish. We begin with breaking news out of Massachusetts, where residents are reeling from what scientists are calling a cum-comet impact.
Officials are asking everyone to stay indoors and to wear N95 masks in case of cum aerolization.
President Trump kicking off another busy week at the White House.
It has been yet another eventful week in Washington.
The activity level is off the charts. The president dialed in. He is executing his agenda at a lightning fast pace. Here's something we rarely see in American politics. President Trump is actually keeping his campaign promises, and he's doing them as quickly as possible.
This administration's moving at political light speed, and they're just getting started.
We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do what I'm doing.
Goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form. Have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's official. Former President Donald Trump will be running for president again in 2024.
Has Donald Trump got the stamina and the will to do this again? He's come under such tremendous...
Everything is on the line in this election.
A busy day in the campaign world up in Butler today. Former President Trump holding a rally at 5 o'clock.
He just tried to kill President Trump.
Not even an assassin.
If we're not careful, AI could make it impossible to distinguish truth from fiction in the news we consume.
So, Keisha, what's a high-value man to you?
A man that gave me 10 kids, 3 evictions, $10 on Cash App, and still pull up in a Nissan Altima that sound like it got asthma.
Day one of trying to make it to work without yelling at a pedestrian. Pray for me, y'all.
Still alive, still unemployed. But baby, I look G-O-D doing it. Oh my God, I'm not even late, I'm just dramatic. Y'all know I will risk it all for a good melon.
We have breaking news. A laser-guided ship missile has just been launched from Rectomopolis, reportedly targeting Pennsylvania.
We're live from the scene where a laser-guided ship missile launched from Rectomopolis has struck Pennsylvania. It's just in. A pubnadal blankets St. Louis in a thick bush this evening.
Downtown is completely covered in pubic hair, causing highways to close out of caution.
It's coming right for us. We need to get out of here now. Oh my God, it's taking the houses. A massive gizzard has buried Kamlambus in 2 feet of dongload. Locals blame the lack of preparation on Mayor Linda P. Slurp.
The city of Columbus is reeling today after an unprecedented event. What officials are calling a gizzard has left downtown streets.
Customs officials at Orbital Port 69 have seized over 420 stolen jork blades, many still warm and dripping. A magnitude 6.9 queefquake rattled Clamlip Valley this morning, releasing a torrent of pussy farts. The children's reading session of This Little Piggy Got Pegged has been cancelled, with parents saying the book is too anatomically detailed for kids.
Lawmakers remain deadlocked on the Big Beautiful bill, with some saying $10 billion more is needed for fleshlights and robo-cooters for dudes on dry spells.
Los Angeles, because she served her fried chicken instead of a quinoa salad.
Megan Mayonnaise went to the restaurant called The Last Supper, where she claimed she was flabbergasted that they would serve her fried chicken when she in fact ordered a quinoa salad. Ms. Mayonnaise said waitress Sharkeisha Trinity knowingly gave her fried chicken, although Ms. Mayonnaise pleaded that she didn't want to eat any urban food. We have Ms. Mayonnaise along with her attorney, Roger Bangher. Can you explain how you were feeling, Ms. Mayonnaise?
I told Sharkeisha Trinity 300 times, let me speak with your manager. And she just kept twerking, sticking her tongue out and laughing at me.
We have exclusive CCTV footage from the restaurant of Miss Mayonnaise and Sharkeisha's fried chicken confrontation.
Miss Mayonnaise is suing Sharkeisha Trinity for everything she got, which is 3 deadbeat fathers and $100 in unpaid child support.
We need your $80,000 down payment now.
Can I do 6 child support checks, 1 EBT card, 10 Section 8 credits, and 2 Medicaid payments?
We take it all.
Welcome back to White News Network. I'm your host, Kimberly Kumquat. Today, the BFI released documents that claim no special files exist from that one famous island. Wink, wink. BFI director said, quote unquote, although you've seen plenty of known people at that island, no American people, you were just seeing shit. The BFI office also released perfectly edited 24-hour surveillance footage of that jail cell where the main guy in charge was being held. At this point, these guys are playing in our face. Most of you are too blind to see it.
Welcome back, folks, to the White News Network. I'm your host, Tom Blandley, and tonight a white woman is leaving her husband after trying a YN. HOA President Skylar White told WNN she is filing for divorce because, quote unquote, after trying a YN, you never go back. Her husband, Kevin White, owner of Proud Boys Country Club, says he is devastated by the news and that it is, quote unquote, total malarkey. The divorce hearing is set for July 13th at Cornbread District Family Court. If Mrs. White wins, she will be entitled to half of his shit that she never worked for. Next up, rock star Roger Bangher has already impregnated 3 women on his Fuckfest tour. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Want to do some totally unnecessary shit like mountain jump with a fly suit on? Then head over to whitepeopleshit.com.
Whitepeopleshit.com.
Swim with sharks, it's a blast. Make memories that last.
Whitepeopleshit.com.
All right, all right, all right, all right. Let's do some news. Yo, salute chat, man. Thanks for slinging up in here. Hello to Brooklyn, Irvin. No news. What up, Playboy? And I seen Pookie and Ray Ray show. All right, we in here. All right, let's go through some news. Let's start with Tulsi Gabbard, man. Tulsi and Trump are not playing. Everybody with this Russiagate thing, they coming after them hard. And Tulsi just revoked a whole bunch of security clearances. Let's go.
Continuing to root out the deep state. Earlier today, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard stripped 37 security clearances over a Barack Obama-ordered intelligence report of Russian interference in the 2016 election, which launched Russiagate. She announced the move on X, saying in part that the 37 who had their clearances revoked, quote, abused the public trust by politicizing, manipulating intelligence, leaking classified intelligence without authorization, and or committing intentional, egregious violations of tradecraft standards. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard is here with us with more. This kind of fits in with your original declassification. And that was what you discovered was there was an original senior career intelligence assessment about possible Russian interference in 2016. And they said there was no interference. And correct me if I'm wrong. And then Obama himself reordered another assessment with top intel officials rather than listen to rank and file senior analysts that are career analysts?
So there's a slight difference here in what you're saying, Sean. First of all, thank you for having me on. It's great to see you. The intelligence community assessed in the months leading up to that November 2016 election that, yes, Russia was trying to interfere in our election by sowing discord and chaos, but stating over and over again that Russia did not appear to have any preference for one candidate over the other. They viewed both as equally bad for Russia's interest. The big shift that happened around what is now commonly known as Russiagate was after the election. In early December, President Obama called a meeting of his National Security Council leadership. From that meeting, there was directive that was delivered.
Yo, Tulsi is a thorough investigator. Even with the Iran stuff and then the leaks, the mainstream media was trying to lean on Tulsi because she would be trepidatious about things, but she wanted everything lined up. So the fact that she going after this Russiagate thing so crazy, and off the top, she always mentioning that it came from the top, Obama. That means she got the paper trail. Yeah, she do look like Rogue from X-Men. Oh, by the way, Pookie and Ray Ray show, man. Where'd you put that at? Yo, congratulations, man. He said, got my ticket to the conclave. Yo, man, one of the best investments you're going to make in your life. I got the conclave pinned to the top of the chat. No News says they got some more shaking up to do. They shouldn't have been able to, to keep their clearances as long as they have. Yo, yeah, facts. Somebody on the inside is greenlighting these clearances, yeah. A secret clearance is good for 10 years. Play top secret clearance is only good for 5. Oh, a top secret clearance is only good for 5. Yeah, facts. I know everybody's saying that they slow rolling things over at Trump and they want to see more action. I keep saying I'm of the mind that he done told Tulsi, he done told Pam Bondi, I want airtight cases. I don't want nobody wiggling through. Take your time. And like I said, I think all the big head banging and everything and him nailing people to the wall is going to come after the midterms. So you make sure that there ain't no pushback and that affect down ticket voting with these seats and with Senate.
From President Obama to then Obama's DNI, James Clapper, to then CIA Director John Brennan, to come up with a new intelligence community assessment that contradicted the ones that had been produced previously by the intelligence community. This new one said that Russia, Putin, did try to interfere in the election because he wanted Trump to win.
They did this using shoddy intelligence, little pieces of intelligence gathered from places that intelligence professionals refused to reference previously because they knew it was substandard and did not meet the quality and the credibility that is expected of them as intelligence professionals. And they used the Steele dossier, knowing John Brennan knew, James Clapper knew, others within the intelligence community knew that the Steele dossier was a political manufactured document intended to be weaponized against then candidate Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump won the election. The American people voted for Donald Trump in 2016. So these intelligence leaders, and John Brennan and James Clapper and James Comey, then director of the FBI, then used this Steele dossier as a source for this Obama-directed new intelligence assessment. Again, stating and alleging that Putin, Russia, tried to help Trump win the election. Clearly showing a preference for Donald Trump. Now, if you go to odni.gov, people who say, well, Tulsi, this is just your view or your interpretation. No, it's all in hundreds of pages of documents that I've declassified and released that show point by point exactly what happened.
Yo, and that's the crazy thing. I haven't even checked out the documents, which I should. She's declassified the entire paper trail while she goes on and makes these arguments in the press. Ever say, yep, slow and steady, leave no wiggle room for them to scurry because Trump already dropped political bunker busters. Facts. Unfortunately, aside from Tulsi, Trump has surrounded himself with neoconservatives who are indebted to AIPAC, and these individuals are all compromised. I'm not entirely sure how true that is. I think he learned from his first term. He was new to Washington, and he said this numerous times. All the people he surrounded himself with, people who were recommended to him from people from Washington. I think he's got a phenomenal cabinet. Marco Rubio is a beast. He's been done wonders pushing the State Department's agenda in Trump's foreign policy, and helping with all these peace deals and pushing the peace deal with Putin and Zelensky. Bessent over at Treasury has been phenomenal at getting these tariffs through, putting pressure on the Fed chair. We all like Vance. Hegseth as head of DOD. I mean, with the military operation on Iran, one of the greatest in U.S. military history, I don't see Hegseth's earned his respect. His chief of staff, Stephen Miller, is a bulldog. Navarro, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK's doing his job. I think his inner circle is tight. He's going to have to work with people in Washington irregardless, but I think the circle he surrounded himself with are all hell-bent on pushing his agenda. Who else did I miss? Pam Bondi, she hasn't missed yet. Tom Holman, Homeland Security, Director of ICE, Borders are. Kash Patel over at the FBI. Yeah. No one really appears to be compromised. They all appear to be lockstep with the MAGA agenda. Anyone in the Senate or Congress that wants to act like a rhino, they're all getting primaried. He said a third Trump will be eminent. I know he be trolling the mainstream media with that. I mean, based on we do the by the numbers segment. And actually we did a big we covered a piece of that last night on by the numbers. Mark over at Rasmussen with his new poll numbers. I mean, Vance is ahead by like 53 points, something crazy like that. Yeah, they're running a full court press. Shout out to Hoop Jargon. Yeah, shout out to Hoop. Shout out Hoop Jargon.
Happened through this timeline that showed this very dangerous thing that occurred in the creation of Russiagate, the creation of this manufactured intelligence assessment that essentially had the intent of undermining the voices and votes of the American people who elected Donald Trump. They were not happy with the outcome of that election. And so they created this politicized, weaponized piece of fake intelligence that, as you mentioned, then went on to serve as a foundation for
Facts. Irvin got it right there. Yeah, and this gerrymandering move is a genius move. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that's that was Vance in his ear, because you know Vance was in Congress, and Vance is very effective in Congress. Yeah, drawing drawing Jasmine Crockett out of her seat and a few other people. No, it's a brilliant move. What are you saying, Pookie? The peace deal between Russia and Ukraine will be good if it goes through. But the base didn't vote for a forever war in the Middle East, and Epstein was a huge deal for MAGA. Epstein's a nothing burger. Trump's not in those files. He doesn't care. And I think that the files that they did receive, I've said this before, they sat in the FBI field office in Manhattan the entire Biden administration. And we know Clinton visited the island 24 times, as well as a bunch of other people. I think the files that they got they got what was left or what was shredded. That's what I think. And I think whatever is in there has to be prosecutable. I think they won't care. They've released some of the stuff, and yeah, they're trying to push for prosecutions. And if there is any dirt, I heard someone else say this. I think Trump's holding on it to have leverage over people in Senate and Congress. Because remember, he couldn't get his big beautiful bill done, and then he took that trip up to the Capitol and saw everybody personally, and then all of a sudden, everybody was voting the way they were supposed to vote. The Israel issue, you can't get around. Israel's not going anywhere. And once that attack from Hamas came, there was no turning back. IDF was going to do what they was going to do. I think that's why Trump proposed that, well, let's build up the Gaza Strip, put prime real estate and everything. It's a businessman decision. You either keep letting it get leveled and make it a constant war zone, or you commercialize it and everyone's got vested interest in it to keep the area peaceful. There's no way around that. And Russia, Ukraine, Zelensky blew up the first deal in the Oval Office. Do you know what I'm saying? You see, Trump was very frustrated, so he let them fight it out, and it was like, okay, when y'all get tired of fighting, let's come back to the table, and that's where we at now.
Everything that came after, the multiple investigations, the years-long Mueller investigation, 2 congressional impeachments, investigations in the raid at Mar-a-Lago. The list goes on and on. Ultimately, the real crime here was against the American people, because this action singularly undermined the integrity of our democratic republic. What to speak of the fact that some of those folks and those 37 individuals that we directed the revocation of security clearances from today under the direction of President Trump, they aided and abetted in this action, this seditious conspiracy that undermined our democracy, undermined our republic, and broke that sacred trust that every one of these professionals is supposed to have from the American people.
Is it fair to say that it's your assessment, and you've had more time to do a deep dive into this than anybody else, that they first wanted to, the intel community, high-ranking members, wanted to influence the outcome of the 2016 election. They knew that the dirty dossier was bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton, and it was from Russia, and it was not true. And then when they were unsuccessful in winning that election, were they then determined to undermine and sabotage the incoming president? Did they also put the cinder blocks on the scale of the 2020 election by pre-bunking a laptop that they authenticated as very real in March of 2020 by pre-bunking it with big tech companies, warning them they may be a victim of disinformation, and then from 2020 to 2024, bloody up Trump? In other words, do we have deep state actors that are trying to influence our presidential elections? Is that what we're concluding?
Let me say, oh yeah, New Glory. If you're watching, you see me going back and forth and responding to Pookie and Ray Ray shows responses in the chat. This is what I mean. He doesn't have a PhD, but he's making valid points for me to friggin' address. They're not like slighted or one-sided. They're not straw man arguments. He's making valid points that I can either agree with or offer a rebuttal to. He said, we all know Trump isn't included in the Epstein files, but to pretend there's no list of clients is offensive to a lot of Trump's base wants convictions. Again, we know Trump isn't included otherwise. No, I agree with that completely. Do I think that there are... I think that there's a distinction. I think that there are names listed, like, and Trump's actually on press list named a bunch of people in the joint. The fact that there are actual names, they still have to tie them to a crime. They have to have them on video doing particular things. Association doesn't imply guilt, and whatchamacallit, I think I made this point before. Epstein's a trained intelligence asset. And he knew he was going to get arrested as such and such. So, like, this is, like I said, this is an issue about, like, what's incriminating. Was there a list in the actual files at some point? Maybe, possibly. But like I said, they're getting the Bondi's office got the paperwork after a 4-year Biden administration. You really think... if anything, I guarantee you there was far more Democrats on that joint. So you really think during the Biden administration that they weren't sorting through everything? You see what they did with Hunter Biden's laptop. So I think, and it was leaked even when Trump was coming in, that in all of the departments, State Department, FBI, that they were busy putting stuff in burn bags, burning them, and shredding them before Trump took office. So yeah, there was quite possibly stuff there. I honestly don't think that they have the smoking gun. I think it was destroyed before. And I would just put myself in the Biden administration's shoes. I'd shred everything too. Shred everything that's incriminating that we can link everything before the next guy gets in. I would do that. And Patel, some of the Russiagate stuff, the Patel's office got is because they found burn bags with stuff still in it that they didn't get to burn. That's how they got all the Russiagate stuff. Pookie says Biden would have used it again. Exactly. That's the point I made about the Epstein files. If there was anything to incriminate Trump and the Epstein shit, they would have been used against it. I mean, look at all the stuff the best they could come up with Letitia James was the line item in a ledger with legal fees. Fannie, and remember they had Alvin Bragg on him too, plus Fannie Willis, and her case blew up. She brought him all the way down there and got him the mugshot, which is now famous. The attack was known ahead of time and directives were given. This is a beehive. I agree. Quiet storm in a building. He said, wait, didn't he call you a dumb Peruvian last night? Indirectly, man. Indirectly. But this is my point. Like, Pookie Ray Show don't got a PhD. Like, but these are valid points that he's making. Dude was here throwing up straw man arguments and sideways alluding to questions. Like, Ask me, make an argument that I can either agree with or refute or meet you halfway with. Exactly. The island was wired for sound, visual, of course, absolutely everything and everyone is recorded. Mossad has this facts, and that's the problem. I got no. I agree with that. I agree with that. My opinion with that is the nature of politics in general is for you to be compromised in some way or whatever seat you're holding. Lobbyist power, big money power, dark money power. That being the case, I think Trump has come in with such a strong mandate. He's come in with pit bulls and killers, and whatever leverage someone else has on you, it's not as much leverage as Trump has on you. And whatever dirt you got, you need to wiggle your way around it because the agenda is this, and all Trump cares about is what's being executed. And I think that's the best way to play it. It's the Occam's razor approach. Storm says, remember the news article I sent you earlier tonight? The news clips was dropped. I just sent it on WhatsApp. All right, I'm gonna check that out. Oh, it's the one with Jesse Waters. Okay, bet. Let's get through. All right, we're at the tail end.
Including here.
Yes, we have people within the intelligence community. Again, when you look at this example of who President Obama charged with this task, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey at the highest levels, but also those who worked as careerists within the intelligence community who did not object to their manipulation and manufacturing of intelligence and actually helped them get there, all moving towards their partisan interests, that they were not happy with the outcome of this election, and they were willing to do whatever it took in order to try to undermine President Trump's administration during his first term in office. These are bad actors that have to be rooted out. Our national security depends on it. The ability for the American people's trust to be earned back depends on exposing the bad actors and holding them accountable. And that's what President Trump is determined to do.
Tulsi, thank you. You're doing the country a great service. I hope.
Yo, I've made this point before about this Trump administration, and it's a nuanced argument. But you said I'm MAGA, but MAGA doesn't equal pros. I agree with you on that 100%. I think Israel has entirely too much influence in the U.S. But once again, and I said this last night, the new glory, that this is politics. Like it's chess, bro. You got to play the board. You understand what I'm saying? And said they've now defined America first as anti-Semitic. Oh no, I agree with that as well. And but that speaks to Trump's posturing. Trump's very shrewd, and pretty much. I mean, if you look at the way he handled Netanyahu, in my opinion, I think he handled Netanyahu brilliantly. The reality of Israel being tied to American foreign policy and us having that's not going away. Between Mossad and the money and the history, it's not going away, and the Jewish lobby. So I think Trump played the cards the best way he could, and basically he told Netanyahu, "You IDF, you guys are troops on the ground. We'll bomb what we need to bomb, but we're not putting no boots on the ground," which I think is fair. And he pretty much told Netanyahu, remember, he signed he had them all agree to the ceasefire, and then they both kept bombing each other, like right when Trump went to bed, when he woke up, and then he called and cursed Netanyahu out. You understand? And if you look at Netanyahu's posturing all during this, I think Trump pretty much put him in his place and was just like, look, this is what we're going to do. And we're not putting boots on the ground nowhere. You guys going to have to clean this up. This shit started when I wasn't here. Let's finish it. Give us the intel for Iran. We'll bomb the nuclear facilities and we're going to be done with it. I got a water stop in Ukraine and Russia, and I got to get this big, beautiful bill done. No, you're right on that too, but not foreign agents, lobbyists from outside of America, I suppose. Yeah, but after no, 100%. And that goes into the whole swamp thing as well. Politics is a dirty game. I will say this: we're not going to have another president like Trump ever again, and I think via the mandate, we're giving him as much leeway as possible to get in there and push his agenda, because his agenda coincides with what's best for the American public. Like I said, compromises have to be made, and you have to play the board the way you have it. I think he's in a much better leveraged power position than he ever was in his first term. And as you can see, he's playing the game better than anyone that's played it in quite some time. We're 6 months in. Look at everything he's got done. This is the one that, okay, I got a quiet storm. Actually, let's do yours next then. This is an additional Tulsi Gabbard segment. Quiet Storm just sent me this. Gabbard launches ODNI 2.0 with plans to cut work. Whoa, so she's cutting the workforce by 40%. Yo, they're chopping heads left and right over in they're chopping heads left and right in government. They're cutting this bureaucracy down, which also I like.
Fox News alert, big intel just got doged. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard is taking a hatchet to her own office. She says our spy agencies are bloated, too political, and focusing on all the wrong things. So she's slashing $700 million, along with up to 40% of the workforce, and calling what's left ODNI 2.0. Tulsi Gabbard joins me now. So what moved you to reinvent this office?
As you know, Jesse, this organization, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, was created 20 years ago in the wake of the egregious and strategic intelligence failures around the Islamist terrorist attack on 9/11 in our country. And this office was created by Congress to get after those problems, to make sure that there is one independent body providing that oversight over the intelligence community, integrating intelligence, making sure that the left hand is sharing information with the right hand, and fundamentally and most importantly, ensuring that the intelligence that is being provided to the President of the United States is timely, it is relevant, and it is apolitical, objective. That he is actually getting the information he needs to make the critical decisions that he makes every single day. Fast forward to where we are today. ODNI has more than doubled in size. It is bloated with bureaucracy. It is rife with politicization, weaponization, the very thing that it was created to try to prevent and get after. And unfortunately, it has failed to meet its mandate. And so this launch today of ODNI 2.0, as you said, we will save taxpayers more than $700 million every year, cutting the organization by over 40% and making sure that those who are working at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence are aggressively getting after our core mission, which is really ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people.
So you're saying when you got in there, you saw them not synthesizing and sharing intelligence as they should. They were mostly hatchet men for the left and sabotaging people?
You know, sometimes they were sharing, sometimes good work was being done, but too often I was seeing, for example, pockets within the ODNI where partisan political elements were tucked away in the hopes that no one would see their work or see what actions they were taking. And in some cases, very directly. And again, this is after I got in this office, after President Trump was inaugurated, inserting their own partisan views and opinions into intelligence documents. Obviously, you've seen what we've released over the last several weeks of people like Obama's DNI James Clapper and CIA Director John Brennan inserting and politicizing, weaponizing, manufacturing an intelligence document for purely political reasons. This kind of thing, unfortunately, still exists within the intelligence community.
Really funny. He said, you know, my political boo thing don't like big backs and reach backs, but has the courtesy to give you a reach around. Shout out to Sergeant Gunny. Yo, I don't know if you ever seen there's mad clips of Tulsi doing her military training at the range and running the obstacle courses and stuff. She's no joke, bro. She's a real badass. She with her Oakley shooting glasses on and everything. Yeah, it looks like something out of a movie.
The changes that I'm making at ODNI is just the very first step to bring about an end to this dangerous politicization of intelligence that ultimately is undermining our national security and our republic, and make sure that the intelligence community is staying focused on its core mission, and then beginning through transparency and accountability to start to earn the trust of the American people that's been broken for a very, very long time.
Director, we're seeing that you got rid of the foreign malign influencer center. Well, first of all, what was that? And did they resist?
Well, here's what's interesting, Jesse, is this was created under the Biden administration. And ultimately, it has been used, and this is documented, there's documented evidence of this, is that it was essentially used as a means to censor Americans' free speech.
Bingo, there you go. There you go. It was inserted in the Biden administration, and the initiative was to censor American free speech.
Shit. Got your ass.
I just boosted a fucking cop car. Gotham, here comes your emotional support clown.
Calling it, hey, you're spreading disinformation. This center was going and working with different social media companies, saying, well, this is disinformation or misinformation. We have.
Bingo. Yo, we've been right the whole time. With you getting flagged on Facebook and YouTube and all that, that was these social media companies working with the government. All of our channels being shadow banned, your content not being monetized because we was because you was doing anti-Biden or anti-leftist streams. Yo, she got the smoking gun.
To censor these dissenting voices who are being critical of the then Biden administration. So that's one example of some of the others, once again, who are not only not conducting our core national security mission, but actually existing as a means to politicize intelligence and, in this case, censor free speech of Americans, which is in direct contradiction and undermining of our fundamental constitutional rights.
Well, I'm sure the president's very happy about this, not only because you're kind of rooting out the garbage, but saving almost $1 billion is pretty useful when you're in this much debt. Director Gabbard, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jesse.
Click here.
All right, bet. Let's do, there you go. Let me see. If there aren't convictions with, we're in agreement with that. Me and Tito were talking about that one of these Sunday shows. If there and we did the Biden numbers segment with Mark's data set as well, and these are all recent numbers. We usually review Mark's findings because they're all based on the most recent polling data sets that he gets back. And so we're usually talking like within 48 hours, 72 hours. But you say if there aren't convictions with harsh punishments, the left will resume the criminal enterprise in 2028. Facts. And Mark's polling shows the general consensus with the American public is that they want to see people go to jail. They want convictions. And I'm with that too. We want to see people perp walked and locked up because I agree with you. There has to be some deterrent for this. Dressed as Baroness Cobra, la la la. I gotta upload that sound drop that No News sent me. the Tito Sip John. All right, Putin Ray show. You brought up Russia and Zelensky deal. So let's do a segment on that. This is General Keane talking about the summit in Alaska and Trump's interaction with Putin and Zelensky, as well as bringing all the world leaders to the White House in that act of statesmanship and diplomacy. And this is General Keane. I haven't seen anything like this before.
President Trump says that he will sort of allow Putin and Zelensky to meet one-on-one together first before, hopefully, he had said earlier today, joining them at a possible future sit-down in hopes of closing a deal in a trilateral discussion. He spoke with Fox and Friends earlier this morning.
So I hope President Putin is going to be good. And if he's not, it's going to be a rough situation. And I hope that President Zelensky will do what he has to do. He has to show some flexibility also.
That pretty much says it all. Let's bring in retired four-star General Jack Keane, Fox News senior strategic analyst, former Army Vice Chief of Staff and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. General, great to have you with us today. The president, when he says, I hope Putin is going to be good, if not, it is going to be rough. I think that pretty much, that sort of says where we are right now, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Let me just preface my comments by also complimenting what took place yesterday. It was, quite extraordinary. What we really see is the president has established genuine momentum, Martha, and not only the obvious unity that those leaders were displaying, but they're now exhibiting his resolve and his determination and his energy to find peace as soon as possible. That in itself, I've not seen before. And in terms of going forward, the security guarantees are a big deal. And I know for a fact that that is the task that has been given to the Pentagon. And so the chairman of Joint Chiefs is
Yeah, Quiet Storm, you sent me this one too. Yeah. Yo, bro, you damn near co-producer on this News Desk show. You and No News and Kwame Kaiju. Nah, keep sending them joints. They be helping, bro. They be helping when I be scrambling for content for the show. And sometimes, actually, truth be told, you be sending me joints that I was going to pick anyway.
Involved. The Supreme Allied Commander of Europe, who's a U.S. general, is involved in that process. They are meeting with all the chiefs of defense of the countries that are willing to participate and find out what it is they're willing to put into this. And Zelensky's team, defense team, is also participating, and that would also drive what the United States will contribute based on what others are putting into the security guarantees. And the reason these are so critical, because obviously we have a peace agreement, the security guarantees go in place, and they prevent Putin from attacking. What he has done time and time again in violating ceasefires or violating peace agreements. That has been his method, and we have to take that away from him and provide deterrence. But here's the other thing, that's so important to get all of this done before the next meeting, because if we have real security guarantees that have teeth in them, and Zelensky sees it and accepts the reality of that, we really do have deterrence here. And as a result of that, that gives him plenty of running room to put together some options in terms of a counteroffer that Putin has on the table. You know what his offer is. You've been talking about it. He has to give up the rest of the Donetsk region, even though he doesn't own that territory, and freeze everything else. Well, Zelensky can come up with some other options that may be attractive to Putin and maybe not as detrimental to himself. He's got plenty of options, but with security guarantees, he can move in that direction with more confidence and accept a greater degree of risk. So this is a critical stage we're at here.
Absolutely. I want to squeeze in one quick question from you, if I may, General. Do you think it's a good idea for Putin and Zelensky to meet without anyone else there, just one-on-one? And do you think that will happen? Do you see Putin saying yes to that in Switzerland or in Budapest?
I don't see any problem with it at all, because at some point that has to happen. And if we can get it done now, it'll be a tough meeting. I mean, they're all going to go in there with their very strong positions, obviously, and find out, where the give may be in that process. I think that's why some others would advocate it would be good if President Trump is in there, because he could kind of, get in the middle of some of that and put some things on the table that maybe both of them could agree to. But at some point, I think it's right to bring President Trump into it. If Putin and Zelensky, both of them want to meet one-on-one, let's get on with it. Yeah. Because the sooner we start resolving their differences, the better.
And just on the way out here, the NATO military leaders are all meeting in Brussels tomorrow. They'll be discussing the security guarantee package that you have just referred to, General. So we'll continue our coverage and all of our discussions with you. Thank you. It's great to have you with us during these really consequential times. Thank you very much, General.
Yo, so YouTube hating on you again, Storm? Yo, Storm with the Cash App. Salute, bro. Yeah, I appreciate you supporting the stream. Shout out to Tito. Don't let that brother be alone.
We got more pricey games coming up in the second half of the show. Don't go away, folks. We got more pricey games coming up in the second half of the show. Don't go away, folks. We got more.
Riker, my good fortune is your good fortune.
I don't need your fantasy women.
Oh, you're so stolid. You weren't like that before the beard. Very well.
Man, fuck all you hoes. Fuck you and your mammy and your granny too. Man, fuck all you hoes. I'm sick of this shit. Fuck all you hoes. Man, fuck all you. Don't give a damn, bitch, what you wanna do. Man, fuck all you hoes.
All right. Yo, what up, Perfect Square? What up, Playboy? All right, we in the building. Let's do bang. Yeah, let's do this one. And actually, Storm sent me something on this, bro. The Keishas in politics and in the job market is taking L's under the Trump administration, man. Yo, what's good? What's good, Playboy? Salute. Under the Trump administration, man. He getting them up out of here. I never even heard of this broad, Lisa Cook. But this is another Keisha. Lisa Cook, up on charges of mortgage fraud. So the Democrats is heavy on this mortgage fraud thing. Yo, salute Universal Black. I see you, Playboy. What up with you, man? Well, we got Schiff up on mortgage fraud, Letitia James up on mortgage fraud, and now this Lisa Cook broad, who's over at I think she's over at FHA. So, in other good news, let's take a look at this Keisha being forced to resign.
Serious mortgage fraud allegations and a criminal referral to a Biden-appointed Federal Reserve governor. President Trump, you just saw, calling on her to resign and calling out Fed Chair Jerome Powell, again, for not lowering those interest rates, saying it is hurting Americans and their ability to get a mortgage. We take you live right now to White House correspondent Mike Carter, who's tracking the very latest on all of these new developments for us.
Yo, but we saw the Fed chair interview the other day. Was it Stephen Merriam with Maria Bartiromo? So he's out of there in September, Jerome Powell. So they're already saying whoever they get in there, they're trying to get them to lower it like 5 basis points. The interest rates drop, man. We're off to the races.
Here, Mike.
Hey, Bianca, good afternoon. Well, as the world awaits an update on Russia, Ukraine, today, President Trump shifting his focus back to the economy and railing against one of his favorite targets, Fed Chair Jerome Powell. The president on Truth Social this morning saying, could somebody please inform Jerome too late Powell that he is hurting the housing industry?
Yo, thank you, Trump. Yo, that's what I've been saying. I was in banking 13 years. I just left banking now that I'm doing Theo's joint. But them interest rates, it killed all the business at the banks, at least on the residential lending side, because I was back office. Interest rates are too high. Nobody's refinancing houses. No one's buying houses. New construction's not going up because even if they build it, who's going to have the money? Who's going to pay fucking 8 to 10% interest rate for a mortgage to get into a newly constructed home? The only building that's being done is with hard money, private lenders or BlackRock. Let's just keep it a buck. Killed the housing market, and that in turn hurts the supply chain, Lowe's and construction stores, all sorts of stuff like that.
Very badly. People can't get a mortgage because of him. There is no inflation, and every sign is pointing to a major rate cut. Too late is a disaster. Well, speaking of mortgages, we have yet another mortgage fraud allegation today against a prominent left-leaning official, with both Adam Schiff and Letitia James facing mortgage fraud probes. Today, the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, Bill.
Yo, look at she could be Letitia James's sister, bro. Why all these big backs look the same? All these big backs of power. Look at this, bro. Lisa Cook. That's the big back right there. She caught up as some mortgage fraud. Trump trying to force her to resign. Yo, Trump is cleaning house with these Keishas, bro. Doing us a big favor. You ain't hearing all that 50-50 talk too much on social media, all crazy like that anymore. Or I could do it all by myself talk, right?
Pulte is urging Attorney General Pam Bondi to investigate Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, a 2022 Biden appointee, over a pair of mortgage fraud allegations.
A Biden appointee. Another Biden DEI hire. These Keishas out here, we getting these jobs and we qualified and we are. Yo, I keep saying it. These Keishas run their offices and everything else like a single mother home. And I bet you she ain't married. Lisa Cook, huh? Lisa Cook, huh? Gotcha, bitch.
She got your ass.
Pulte alleges that Cook falsified bank documents and property records to acquire more favorable loan terms, potentially committing mortgage fraud under the criminal statute. According to Pulte, Cook obtained a $200,000 mortgage in June of 2021 on a property in Ann Arbor, Michigan, agreeing to occupy it as her primary residence for at least a year. Just 2 weeks later, however, she took out a $540,000 mortgage on a property in.
Look at this big back Keisha. Yo, so she's on the chair with Jerome Powell? Bro, DEI hire. Why all these big backs look the same? No News says it also killed the commercial and industrial sector. Where I work as an electrician, I have temporarily switched career fields. Bro, that's why I'm in cloud. I went when I still had money and assets and everything. I was fresh off my severance. Obsidian had a second conclave in Philly. I was in Philly at the Pyramid Club. I went there, enrolled in Theo's class. The whatchamacallit. That's why I didn't completely left banking behind. I did a complete career switch, and in between that, I certed for Microsoft project management and business analyst. I was doing business analyst work, contract work. Yeah, I've completely left banking. That's how bad this guy killed the economy. He said she looked like Lou Ferrigno and a Hawk. Y'all niggas wildin'. Wildin'. Yo, wow. And then somebody said she had the look of fear pose.
Let's be nice. Yeah. Let's be nice. We don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it. I mean, good Lord.
Facts, yeah. They had the look of fear exposure. That first one I stopped her in. Yeah. Checkmate. We sniffing out all these big backs like a sharpshooter. Bruh, you straight up, bruh. Like, yo, Keisha taking L's under the Trump administration, man.
So, Keisha, what's a high-value man to you?
A man that gave me 10 kids, 3 evictions, $10 on Cash App, and still pull up in a Nissan Altima that sound like it got asthma.
Georgia also declaring it as her primary residence. Pulte claims that Cook later listed the Georgia property for rent, suggesting she misrepresented her circumstances. And today, Pulte is even looking suggesting she
Wow, look at that wig, bruh. Look at that's a DEI wig, bro. Look at that. Look at that DEI wig, bro. Biden was just putting any big back in. That's that plantation politics. Look at that Democrat in hot water accused of mortgage fraud. And her wig is accused of mortgage fraud too, and indecent exposure.
Represented her circumstances. And today, Pulte is even looking into another property owned by Cook in Massachusetts. Lisa Cook is a former Michigan State University economist whose previous work included exploring the impact of racial injustice.
Bro, she was an economist and her work was exploring the impact of race inequality. She is not equipped. She is not qualified to be on the Fed board. You tell me we couldn't find a black male economist? Nothing says DEI hire like an economist whose pivotal work is exploring the impact of get the fuck out.
On the economy. In November of 2020, Cook was named a volunteer member of Joe Biden's Presidential Transition Agency review team to support transition efforts related to the Federal Reserve. Also in 2022, Cook was approved by the Senate along party line vote to become a member of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, with Kamala Harris casting the deciding vote in her favor.
You see, she really wasn't going to be on the board. Kamala Harris had to cast the deciding vote. Yo, half these Keishas ain't qualified for these jobs they got, bro. And that's what all this work that's been done down in this space has proved out. They're getting hired over black men for quotas, and they'd rather hire an unqualified big back Keisha than a qualified black male. That's the Democrat Party. And that's why we have to put the final nail in a coffin and send them out to the Phantom Zone. We got to destroy this party.
No charges have yet been filed, and it's unclear whether BOMD will open an investigation. But President Trump seems to have made up his mind. President posting today, Cook must resign now. If Cook doesn't resign, Trump is reportedly considering firing her outright. All right, Priyanka, today at 4 o'clock, the president will swear in the new ambassador to the European Union. This man's name, Andrew Puzder. He is the former CEO of CKE Restaurants. That's the restaurant chain that owns Hardee's and Carl's Jr. Bianca?
Mike Carter, good to have you with us to kick things off. Thank you.
Information. Truth.
All right, bet. Let's do a quick one on the National Guard deployment to D.C. And we're going to use the commentary from my guy, Soldiers of Finance, because this commentary is always spot on. I like reviewing these black brothers who do political and financial commentary, because I was pleasantly surprised that there are so many of them, and all their channels are doing quite well. That's why I said apparently I am in the right niche. But our favorite bald big back over at MSNBC with Morning Joe. And this is the liberal media spin on the deployment in D.C. This is, he labeled this high-calorie Democrat women demand criminals attack cops. She is high-calorie. Simone Sanders. I don't know who told her that haircut was flattering on her.
Street safer? No, Joe. I'm a black woman in America. I do not always think that more police make streets safer. When you walk down the streets of Georgetown, you don't see a police officer on every corner, but you don't feel unsafe. So what is it about talking about places like Southeast DC, right? Ward 8, if you will, that people say, well, we need more officers to make us safe. I think we have to rethink what safety means in America.
Rich?
Rethink what safety means? What is she? Does anyone not know what safety is, right? It's being able to walk down the street without looking over your shoulder, or let your kid go out and play without worrying about him or her being harassed or shot.
High-calorie women from the nation of Big Bakistan are actually out here suggesting that black men catch a federal death penalty charge.
Black people in D.C., get your...
Yo, I'm glad he said that. We talk about that down here all the time. Proxy violence by the Keisha, and the Keisha signing black men up to catch L's, get locked up. And it's even with all the race stuff, it's all the Keishas always talking about, you need to go out and do this and do that. What you want? Basically trying to sign you up for a race war. I've said this before. We've had this conversation, like, bro, and put a 1 in the chat. If this, as a black man rolling around in your everyday life since you've been in your late teens, and especially as an adult male, is in the back of your mind when you go out of your house to go to do it, are you worried about a group of white boys rolling up on you and try to do something to you? Like never. In middle school, like I'm from Philly back in the day when the city was separated. You had the Irish, the Italians, and I had to walk to school. I used to have to fight white boys and everything like that, but you beat them up a couple times, you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying as I got older, that's like never been a thing. Like I've never really, I can't recall rolling around in Philly or New York where I was at, or wherever I was at, California, worried about some white boys rolling up on me on some shit. I'd be worried about niggas rolling up on me. Real shit. Oh, Theo Waff in the building. I see you buying gym equipment, Playboy. I see you, man. And when you post up in Sao Paulo, man, I'm hopping on a plane. If I ain't in Southeast Asia and I'm in South America, I'll be there quicker. You feel me? Conclave coming up. I got it. I got it pinned to the top of the chat. Yo, you guys heard me earlier, man. Sign up for Theo's joint, man. It'll change your life. I left banking, never went back. I'm up here studying Terraform, Python. Like, I haven't programmed since university. I used to program in Fortran and COBOL. Theo says the bear can protect them 304s, and that's a whole. That is a whole fact, though. Let's play some drops.
Riker, my good fortune is your good fortune.
I don't need your fantasy women.
Oh, you're so stolid. You weren't like that before the beard. Very well.
Off by a star. Man, fuck all you hoes. Fuck you and your mammy and your granny too. And fuck all you hoes. I'm sick of this shit. Fuck all you hoes. And fuck all you. Don't give a damn, bitch, what you wanna do. And fuck all you hoes.
I just boosted a fucking cop car. Gotham, here comes your emotional support clown.
All right, let's go. Let me see what we got. Storm said the last time I was called gay, the N word with the hard R and the other insults were from Keisha, not white people. Facto. You said gay. So they was like you like this?
Good morning.
Morning to you.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
All right, let's go. Look at this big back Keisha.
And take care of them police officers like they should have been taken care of 50 years ago.
All right, we're not going to spend much time on this, but I think it is interesting that we've got some examples here of Black women who are actually suggesting that if people go out and attack federal officers who have been assigned to go into DC in particular to clean up the streets. Now, I'm going to show you how these women are way off base with that. They do not represent the majority of the sentiment out there from Black women. All right. They are definitely outliers, and I'm going to prove that to you. But they are emblematic of a real problem we have in the culture. All right. They haven't sat down and really thought about what they're promoting here. First of all, if you get up and go to work and don't involve yourself in criminal activity, don't sell poison in your own neighborhood, okay? You steer clear of that. If you don't take rap lyrics as something that you should emulate, and you go to work and you raise your kids, all of the Black people that are being productive citizens of society, law-abiding citizens, don't have to worry about being picked up by local, state, or federal law enforcement because they're not criminals. It's as simple as that. Now, I would argue that these women probably are in a relationship or have been in a relationship with a man or woman, it's 2025, who has some criminal predilections, all right? Or maybe they have a son that is caught up in the criminal justice system. So instead of trying to figure that situation out, maybe go back and trace some root causes and kind of change behavior. No, instead, they're encouraging men to go out and actually attack federal officers. And you know that only has 3 outcomes. Number one is the feds neutralize the threat immediately, if you know what I mean. Number 2 is the feds neutralize the threat in such a way that the assailant has sustained permanent injury. And number 3 is they end up on federal death row. And you could have a situation where you have a combination of number 2 and number 3. All right. There's a culture problem here with this subset of the community that believes it is okay to even suggest.
Oh, no news. You said there's a Columbia Keisha got locked up by ICE while live streaming. Her wig came off and everything. She was scared. Call 911. Yeah, I got that clip. We'll go over that one tomorrow because she was doxing ICE agents while live, and she was here illegally. And I bet you she's from Cali because she was dark. So she's from Cali, Colombia, driving a Tesla. We're here with no papers. So, and she was good looking with her wig on. So I know where she was getting the money. Let's just put it that way. I'm not gay no more. I should bring that drop back. We was heavy on that drop. Season 1 through 3. I am delivered. All right, yeah, I'm gonna bring that drop back and add it to the re-add it to the drops. Yeah, we used to use that joint all the time, like the first 3 seasons.
This. But that's not all. We have another citizen of Big Pakistan, a Big Pakistanian.
Yo. He said a Big Pakistan. Yo. The big Pakistanian.
Let's be nice. Yeah. Let's be nice. We don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it. I mean, good Lord.
My nigga.
Yo, Big Pakistan, that's funny as hell, cuz. Woo! How the hell did she get a Tesla as an illegal? She's a Colombian. She's a pretty Colombian from Cali, Colombia. You do the math.
Who is doubling down, pretty much.
Not the one to condone violence.
Let me stop her right there. She's not the one to condone violence. Okay, just remember that.
I'm not the one to condone breaking the law when you can get caught.
She's not the one to condone breaking the law when you can get caught. So she is a proponent of breaking the law. She doesn't really have a moral compass. She's just cautious about being apprehended breaking the law. This is the type of person that is speaking right now.
However, I do think now is not the time to be no suck ass. And this is for all the people that like to break the law, that like to rob people, that like to shoot people, that like to murder people. Now is your time to resist in DC.
This right here. You hear what this Keisha's saying? She's telling y'all to go out and take shots at the National Guard and the police. Big back Keishas. Are you serious? She basically telling y'all to go out there and get bodied.
What I'm seeing across the board is insane for me to see in my city. It's insane. I want y'all to harass the people that are harassing y'all versus regular citizens, versus the people that go to work every day, versus the people who keep the economy in our area.
Harassing. I'm telling you what they doing. They telling them to get out there and clear the streets, clear the corners. Y'all can't be on the corners 10, 20 deep. Get the homeless out. Y'all can't be letting off switches and shit like that. No open air drug market. Basic shit. Basic policing.
Going every day. I want y'all to run these police up out of here and terrorize them the same way y'all terrorize the citizens of your city.
Okay, so what she is saying is that she wants lawbreakers that are terrorizing Black communities to take it a step further and start to harass the law enforcement agencies. So she's okay and comfortable with people in the neighborhood selling drugs to other Black people. She's okay with that. She's okay with gang violence in the community. She's okay with carjackings. None of that bothers her. What bothers her is the notion that someone would come in and try to clean that up. That's her problem. Now, can you imagine how quickly that woman would have called the police if, say, someone had tried to steal a rib platter from her?
Facts. I ain't know. I thought he was going to say steal her car or something. I didn't know he was going to say rib platter.
Let's be nice. Let's be nice. We don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it. I mean, good Lord.
Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch?
And how indignant and outraged she would be, then it would be like a real federal case for her. Look, the statistics say that these women are on the wrong side of history, okay? But look, I'm not prepared to say this is confined to a subset of Black America. Because you remember we did the video a few weeks back of the Hispanic councilwoman, or she was the vice mayor or something out there in California, who pretty much suggested the same thing.
I want to know where all the cholos are at in Los Angeles, 18th Street, Florencia. Where's the leadership at? Because you guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, and this is Florencia. You guys tag everything up, claiming hood. And now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, there ain't a peep out of you. It's everyone else who's not about the gang life that's out there protesting and speaking up. We're out there like fighting our turf, protecting our people.
All right, so what is the actual prevailing sentiment?
Oh, yeah, she was a vice mayor over there in Cali, but the feds showed up at her door the next day. And you ain't heard a peep from her since. The feds paid her a personal visit.
When it comes to crime in DC.
The answer to this problem for Democrats is not, oh, everything's okay. There's nothing to see here. Move along, move along. Oh, Washington has dropped 24% or whatever in crime. Well, let me give you some other numbers. The Washington Post took a poll in late April, early May. 91% of Washington residents say crime is a problem. 91%. 51%, it is an extremely serious problem. And John Heilman, we've had people before put this in racial terms. And this is, I must say, this is one thing that I think Democrats have gotten so wrong about crime. So wrong about crime. Let me just read the Washington Post here. There are stark divides among lines of race and income in the poll, with black residents and lower income residents significantly more worried about.
You hear that? And this is MSNBC Morning Joe saying this. Which is completely opposite the narrative that the other mainstream media, the talking point, crime's down in D.C. And we know that there's an investigation from the DOJ now because they found out that they've been significantly falsely reporting crime statistics so that they appear low. And all of that happened under the watch of the DEI Keisha police chief that they hired, who was previously not a career police officer, but a DEI officer and in charge of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the DC police force. So they didn't hire a career cop. They hired a Keisha, and under the Keisha, they were forced to report fake crime stats.
Crime than white residents and those with higher incomes. As they were last year, black women are among the most concerned, with 65% saying crime is a very or extremely serious issue.
Okay, so even though it's down from 2023, 65% of black women surveyed believe that DC has a problem.
The dude said she was a hall monitor. Put some respect on her name.
With crime. 91% of DC citizens think that there's a problem with crime. So the big Pakistanians, whether they be Hispanic, whether they be black, they're on the wrong side of history. Okay. These are retrograde mindsets that are a large part of why the black community has found itself in the situation that it is in all across America, because you have attitudes like this inside of it, actual people advocating for folk to lose their freedom and lose their lives, confronting federal law enforcement. Now, we know that they're not going to do that, right? I mean, look at them. They and look. I don't feel any compunction about being, I guess, mean to these women, because what they are doing is basically evil. And any fool who listened to them would regret it. So these are the types of women that cannot walk 2 blocks with a bag of groceries without, sitting down. So they're not going to do anything but run their mouths and try to be agents of chaos verbally, right? They're not really going to actually do anything. So just like the Hispanic gangs in California, they didn't listen to that mayor because they know better, right? They're smarter than that mayor or vice mayor, whatever the hell she was. And people are smarter than these women here. They're just expressing frustrations without sitting down and actually thinking about the greater good. But we went over why that is. It's probably because they either have a son in a tight situation legally, or are attracted to men that are embroiled in the criminal justice system.
All right, bet. Let's go. Guys, we are at the 1 hour, 28 minute mark. So let's play our final segment and wrap it up. These news desks go pretty fast. I actually had a couple more joints. We're gonna we're going to do the Colombian chick getting snatched out her Tesla and her wig flying off tomorrow when the ICE agents got the drop on her for doxing ICE agents and telling people to harass them and get after them, literally. All right, so let's do this final segment. This is our guy, Vance, who currently is looking like the front runner for the 2028 vice president, outclassing everybody, DeSantis and Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, who I, like I said, who I like. I've been extremely impressed by his skill and with at the State Department. And how ferocious he's been with pushing the America First agenda of Trump. Because, Rubio and Trump were enemies at one point. So he's being a good soldier. All right, let's do this last segment. This is Vance. And this is his interview he did with, I believe, Laura Ingraham. He's going to touch on a few things, Elon Musk, as well as what's happening in D.C. And this is Vance hasn't done too many interviews since he was vice president. So let's go.
Mr. Vice President, thank you for having us here today.
Good to see you.
So you had quite an eventful morning
We did.
over at Union Station, as we saw in that clip. Tell us about how you decided to go over there. A lot of us D.C. residents and former D.C. residents know it well, but it's been the site of a lot of crime in recent years.
Of course.
And you decided to pay a visit. What happened?
Well, so a couple of things. So first of all, I had heard from a couple of friends who used to avoid Union Station because there were vagrants and there were crazy people screaming at kids that they avoided Union Station. But over the past 9 days, since the president did this emergency order, it looks a lot better. It feels a lot safer. So I was talking with Stephen Miller and with Pete Hegseth about this in the Oval Office yesterday. And I was like, we should just go over there and say hello to people. And you've got a lot of National Guardsmen over there, some D.C. cops who have been heckled by some of the protesters. So I thought, what a good show of moral support to have the vice president and some of the senior team at the White House show up. We bought him some burgers, hang out with him a little bit. And actually, the most interesting thing, Laura, was after the cameras left, Pete and Steve and I stayed and, had lunch with these troops and just learned a lot about what they're seeing, about how much the city has changed in just the past 9 days. So crazy statistic, violent crime has dropped in D.C. 35% in 9 days. Robberies in D.C. have dropped 55% in 9 days. And it highlights the fact that this living with lawlessness and disorder, that's fundamentally a question of political will. If you've got the political will to enforce the law, you can make...
Yeah, now living with crimeless and lawlessness is primarily a symptom of Democratic leadership in most of these cities. I mean, name them. I think we did it earlier this week or last week. Most of these Democratic-run cities are shitholes, and I think that is also by design because it's order out of chaos. It's a Hegelian dialectic. If they keep the crisis going, they can always be reelected on the premise and platform of solving the problem or fixing the chaos, which they intend to never fix in the first place.
Even cities like D.C. safe again, and that's what we're demonstrating. And I hope that the American people take an important lesson from this, because obviously D.C. is a federal city, New York, L.A., these places are not. I hope the American people just recognize that you don't have to live with lawlessness. You don't have to live with third world murder rates. If you just take control of these cities, you can make them safe places to live in.
So your pal Gavin Newsom calls this an abuse of power, that this is just a power grab, and this is all stunt for show, and that you all are going to roll through other cities. You've heard things about, martial law is going to be declared.
Yep.
And to that you say?
Well, first of all, how is it a power grab or how is it a stunt when we've already declined murders by 35% in 9 days? How many people are living and breathing today because Donald Trump had the willpower to say, you know what, we're sick of D.C. being a home to lawlessness. We're going to bring some public order back to the nation's capital. So what I would say to Gavin Newsom or to anybody else in some of these big blue states or big blue cities is you can have law and order. You can have common decency. You can have public spaces that young families can go to again. I'll tell you a story, Laura. A couple of years ago, the last time I was in Union Station, I took my little kids there to get lunch, and they were being screamed at by homeless people, not compassionate to the homeless people to let them just fester when they clearly have mental health problems, not compassionate to young families to not be able to go into one of America's great public spaces without being screamed at by a person clearly suffering
Why are
from a
Democrats
mental
doing
illness.
this?
I don't know.
Why is this
I
a
don't
political
know.
strategy?
Laura, I have thought about this so often and so many times. I don't know why Democrats seem.
Yo, all right. I was just talking about this. All right, cool, perfect. Because I haven't watched this segment all the way through. No News says, Lori Ingram just asked, why are the Democrats doing this? And No News says they keep voting for them because they allow them to do whatever the hell they want to do. I think that is part of it. I think the other part is Keisha votes Democrat almost always 90%, and they are politically ignorant. I think the biggest add on to this space that Saul and I brought with this channel is that we opened up full discourse in the public square around domestic politics and a lot of our political leanings with regard to policy, they're centered around policy initiatives for black men. A lot of it sprung as a springboard off of the policy initiative bullet points laid out by Dr. Tiosan Johnson and Black Males Independence by Dr. Ron Neal. And it just so happens along those lines, a large number of those policies initiatives lean right or conservative. So a lot of with the Trump policies and his platform that he ran on, in many ways, they align with many of those bullet points laid out by Dr. Tiosan Johnson and some of the political and ideological points laid out by Dr. Ron Neal with his BMI manifesto.
To love public disorder and chaos almost as a political ideology. And I think that part of what's going on is Democrats have gotten so divorced from the communities that they allegedly serve that they don't realize the gross majority of residents in DC, they want to walk through Union Station and just have a bite to eat or enjoy the space with their families. They don't realize that so many people have been absolutely terrorized by Democrat crime policies. And so maybe they just don't make the connection between what Gavin Newsom says and the fact that places like DC or Los Angeles have some of the highest murder rates in the world.
And the DC police are being investigated for potentially manipulating their crime data. I've heard this from other police forces across the country. Great cops, beat cops in places like Chicago have said, some of the crimes are reclassified to make a burglary something that's more of a disturbance, and that kind of stuff happens. But is this a federal issue at this point, if this is a manipulation of data and if it's widespread?
Well, it's certainly something that's being investigated, and I hope that we'll uncover what's going on. But even aside from any manipulation of data, when you have 911 wait times that are so long, a lot of crime doesn't even get reported. And we heard this all the time. People would say, well, my home's being robbed. I'm not even going to call the police because it's going to be 45 minutes before they show up. And that's not an indictment of the beat cop, by the way. They're so overwhelmed by how much violent crime there is that they're unable to actually bring public safety to these communities. So what we're doing is just changing the balance a little bit. We're putting more good guys on the streets and we're taking more bad guys off the streets. And we think that's the sort of thing that's going to bring public safety back to DC. Again, it's already working in a very big way.
Now, on to Ukraine. Your February meeting with Zelensky and the president, that was quite something to behold.
It was good
how did you all break the ice this time? Take us into the room, because we're all dying to know that.
Well, I think when President Zelensky walked into the Oval Office, I was chatting with him, with the president, with some of the senior Ukrainian delegation. I said, Mr. President, so long as you behave, I won't say anything. And he just
You see how Zelensky got a jacket on? And we covered the last time Zelensky was there. It was, Vance was in his ass the last time he was there. And you see what Vance said? He said, yo, as long as you don't get out of line, I'm not going to get in your ass. That's essentially what he said.
Talk a little bit. It was a good little icebreaker. I mean, what the president's trying to do, meaning our president is trying to do, is bring a 3.5-year, very brutal conflict to a stop. It's killed way too many Ukrainians, way too many Russians. It's completely transformed the economy of Europe and of big parts of Asia. We just got to get back to peace. And I really do think you heard Vladimir Putin say this, that if Donald Trump had been president in 2022, this war would have never started. And now the president is really spending a lot of time, a lot of effort to stop Joe Biden's war, because I think it is Joe Biden's war. Without him being weak and provocative, I don't think that Russia would have invaded Ukraine. And now we have a situation where the president is trying to be strong and bold and trying to bring this thing to a close.
Now, take us into the room when the president said, I'm going to call Putin now. And you got the Western leaders, they've all come to Washington. Now, what was their facial expression at that point? Did they anticipate that this was going to happen? Because it was, 8 hours ahead, Moscow time?
Yeah, it was like 1 a.m. Moscow time, and they had no anticipation. So we're actually in the East wing of the White House, and the president says, we've had a pretty good meeting. I'm going to go call Vladimir Putin and see what he says about it. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to call him next week? And he's like, no, what time is it in Moscow? Let's call him right now. And I think one of the things I realized about President Trump's leadership is he cuts through the BS of some of these diplomatic protocols and just says, I'm going to get things done. If I want to talk to somebody, I'm going to talk to somebody. You had a lot of the Europeans who were saying, no, there needs to be proper, vetting, and the teams have to prepare the phone call and blah, 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 blah. And the president was like, no. I want to talk to the guy. I'm going to talk to the guy. And I think that kind of no holds barred, no BS diplomacy is part of the reason why we've made the progress we have. And we've made a lot of progress, Laura. Look, who knows what's going to happen? The president tells me this all the time. You can never say with certainty what the outcome in this situation is going to be. But we now have the Russians talking to the Ukrainians. They're talking details about what would be necessary on each side to stop the fighting and stop the killing. We've made more progress in 3 months than the country had made in 3 years in stopping this conflict. And I think it's because sometimes you just need a president who will pick up the phone and call somebody.
When Vladimir Putin meets with Volodymyr Zelensky, can we assume that all the big details will have been discussed and generally agreed upon, namely the security agreement and land swap?
It's a good question. I think that if you go through the bureaucratic process, then the answer is yes. But I think the president's preference and my preference would be, let's have them meet regardless. You don't have to figure out every issue. And sometimes leaders sitting down face to face can break the logjam that their teams don't necessarily have the ability to do.
Yeah, Vance 2028. He is really so good at articulating Trump's agenda. Like, Trump does a lot of press. But for something like this with the talks and everything else like this is and Vance was involved very early on. We were making a point that he made Vance get on the plane, had the Minsk, had the Ukraine, everywhere, like during those initial days during the transition. And it showed a tremendous amount of trust in his right-hand man, his vice president. And generally, you don't see a vice president out there heavily involved in foreign policy and stuff like that. They usually give him a brief, a portfolio of things that he's going to be responsible for. And then, you very rarely see the vice president out in front of cameras and toting the general policy and initiatives of the administration. But Vance handles the press so well, and he's a skilled communicator with regard to communicating very sophisticated foreign policy initiatives, stuff that's going on domestically, and he's a good face for the administration and for Trump's agenda, and he comes off good on camera.
There really are two big questions lingering out there, and in some ways it's very simple, but in some ways it's very complicated. Number one is Ukraine wants to know that it's not going to get invaded again by Russia. It wants to know that it's got territorial integrity long into the future. The Russians want certain pieces of territory, most of which they've occupied, but some of which they haven't. So that is really where the meat of the negotiation is. The Ukrainians want security guarantees. The Russians want a certain amount of territory. Again, we finally got the details. We're working on them, but we haven't figured everything out. And I don't think that we should force, we shouldn't say that they can't sit down until you've figured out every little detail. Sometimes them sitting down is what facilitates figuring out those details.
You have been
Facts. And that's the art of deal making.
So strong on the idea of Europe paying for Europe's defense.
Sure.
And I think a lot of Americans don't understand that the EU GDP last year was about $19.18 trillion, if I'm right, give or take. And the UK's was about $2.9 trillion. Sure. Ours is $29.8 trillion, right?
You know the numbers better than I do. You should be Treasury Secretary.
Yeah. Sorry, Scott, I got your job. No, but so this is a lot of money. Europe has the money to defend itself. So the security agreement, my question to you is, why should America carry the lion's share of the burden from now until Lord knows when for Europe when Europe has the money to defend itself?
Facts. And to Pookie and Ray Ray show, you're right about Israel. But the big elephant in the room was NATO, and the EU, us footing this ridiculous defense bill for the past few decades. Now this war with Ukraine, which we had no part in being in, and we're also financing the war. So these new trade agreements that Trump has ironed out, it's forcing the EU, NATO, to foot their bill for a significant part of their defense for the EU. And they're also going to be, if the conflict continues with Ukraine, they'll be funding Ukraine instead of the U.S. tax dollars.
Well, I don't think we should carry the burden here. I think that we should be helpful if it's necessary to stop the war and to stop the killing. But I think that we should expect, and the president certainly expects, Europe to play the leading role here. And what he said very clearly is, look, the United States is open to having the conversation, but we're not going to make commitments until we figure out what's going to be necessary to stop the war in the first place. And I think that it's, the president is very good. He never takes anything off the table. He never puts anything fully on the table because he doesn't want to give away his leverage. And this is the private.
Exactly. If you read Art of the Deal, he's operating right out of that book.
Conversation that we're all going to have about what's necessary to stop the war. But no matter what happens, no matter what form this takes, the Europeans are going to have to take the lion's share of the burden. It's their continent, it's their security, and the president's been very clear they're going to have to step up here.
What's it like meeting Putin? What was he like, just one-on-one?
So I've actually never met Putin. The president did that meeting. I've talked to him on the phone a number of times. It's interesting. He's more soft-spoken than you would necessarily expect. The American media has a particular image of him. He's soft-spoken in a certain way. He's very deliberate. He's very careful. And I think fundamentally he's a person who looks out for the interests as he sees it of Russia. And I think one of the reasons he respects the president of the United States is because he knows the president looks out for the interests of the American people.
Bingo. That's what we were saying before. That's what we were saying before. That's a connecting point with those two. Say what you want about Putin. Putin is doing what's in the best interest of his country, as he should. Even this provocation is NATO crossing those boundary lines which were agreed to decades ago. And Putin repeatedly warning them over the years, like, hey, you're encroaching on my border, you're putting missiles on my border. We made the argument like, yeah, we wouldn't let Mexico put missiles on the border of Mexico, we're going to have a problem. And Trump's America First policy is the same way. He's doing what's in the best interest of, he's going to get the best deal for America. And that's in line with Xi over in China. And I think the Xi, Trump, Putin, those are like the last of like the strong men of a bygone era. And I think there's a mutual respect along those lines. Doesn't mean that they're not going to play dirty and they're not going to play to win, but it's like it's the last of the strong men at the table. And Trump seems even more incredibly strong now in light of a Biden administration, where we saw not only a weak president but a physically feeble and a president with deteriorating mental faculties.
People. And while they often disagree about issues, and obviously the president has been very critical of Vladimir Putin, the president's also willing to work with anybody if he thinks it's going to accomplish an important goal for America. And we all agree an important goal is to stop the killing.
Let's move to the economy.
Facts. All right. We are at the 1 hour, 49-minute mark. That is my time for this evening. I want to thank my chat for coming out, being involved, having a good time, cracking some jokes. That's the news desk, man. As always, I want to say good night, good luck, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Panel. This country needs stronger border security. Our border security is the strongest in the world.
What we need is to take care of our children.
I can't get an erection. You think giving them amnesty is fair to the people who are already here? They're contributing to the economy. I've tried all the herbs. Amnesty is never the answer. It's not amnesty. It's recognizing their contributions to our country. They said to meditate, but I keep falling asleep. We need stronger vetting.
And to enforce the laws already on the books.
I'm terrified of being alone with my wife. It's too much pressure. Well, nothing's ever going to change if Congress isn't willing to compromise. Exactly my point.
A wall would solve this.
I wake up with an erection, but never when she's in the bed with me. A wall would solve nothing.
These children have rights.
I spent $3 grand on a sandals vacation thinking that might do it. Know what it was? Me being limp on a lazy river.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you to Peter Griffin.
No, don't send me home to my wife. Democrats. Panel. This
Sorry.
Hey, where's Stewie? That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. Okay, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not right on the teleprompter.
There it is. We are going to do Sting, yeah.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean, to play us out? To end the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today, and we'll leave you with a... I can't do it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Stewie Griffin. Thanks for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.